Would you believe it if I told you that in Poland, there is a private company started by just one man that beat big delivery companies like DPD, GLS, FedEx, UPS, and DHL? You might think it's possible. Maybe he had good connections or help from powerful people. That can happen in Eastern Europe. But what if I told you that he didn't know anyone important and that he came from a small village with only 800 people? If you're already surprised, here's more. This man built a company that became the biggest rival to the National Post Office, and many times his company was better, even though the post office had a monopoly. Today's episode is about a man who lived the American dream in Eastern Europe, just 10 years after communism ended in Poland. Welcome to this episode of series Business Tycoons. In the first episode of our series about great entrepreneurs, we tell the story of a man who went from a small village in Silesia to the top of European business. Rafał Brzoska was born in 1977 in Racibórz, Poland. He grew up in Zawarach-Szanseka, a village with only 800 people. Today he runs InPost, an international logistics giant. His journey was not easy or simple. He grew up in a family with no business background. His parents were part of the middle class in Poland in the 1980s and 1990s. It was in this normal environment, among everyday people, that Rafał's strong business instincts started to grow. Brzoska says that life in the countryside came with many responsibilities. After school, he always had farm duties waiting for him. Maybe this is where he learned to work hard and manage his time well. Two things his employees and partners say he is known for today. As a teenager, he went to high school in Rzeszów. Then he studied management and marketing at the University of Economics in Krakow. During his education, Brzoska often noticed the gap between his background and the background of other students. His early schooling in a small village with poor facilities made him fall behind, both in academics and sports like basketball or swimming. But in both high school and university, he quickly caught up and did very well. At university, he not only studied, he also started his first business projects. His student dorm became a small operations center for leaflet distribution. In 1999, while still a student, he started his first company, FH Phoenix. At first, he built computers, but leaflets became the real breakthrough. With his last 500 zloty, he paid for a newspaper ad offering flyer delivery for 5 groszy each. Let's explain quickly. Although Poland is in the European Union, it does not use the euro. The country still uses its own currency, the Polish zloty. On average, 4 zloty equal $1. We're preparing a separate video about why Poland hasn't adopted the euro yet. The first client gave Brzoska a job worth 350 zloty. Over time, more and more clients came and the business grew fast. It wasn't easy at the beginning. Low income and not much money left. But his hard work and quick scaling helped him succeed. These first business steps were like a real logistics school. That's when Brzoska learned what the last mile really means, the final step of delivery to the customer. Years later, this knowledge helped him create paczkomats, parcel lockers that changed how people in Poland pick up packages. This innovation made InPost the leader in the delivery market. The success story of Rafał Brzoska shows that breakthrough ideas don't always come from corporate offices in glass skyscrapers. Sometimes they start in a student dorm with a leaflet in hand. Later, his first company, FH Phoenix, became Integer.il. But the key moment came in 2006, when Brzoska started InPost, a company created to challenge the monopoly of the Polish Post. In Poland, Poczta Polska, the national post, has a legal monopoly on official letters and mail under a certain weight and size. This monopoly is protected by the postal law, which makes Poczta Polska the only company allowed to provide these services. This creates a market problem, where only one company can legally deliver some types of mail. As a result, InPost and other courier companies were not allowed to deliver letters lighter than 50 grams. Brzoska wanted to fight this unfair system, so he came up with a clever idea. He added a small metal plate to each letter. This made the letters heavier and moved them out of the restricted weight range. This simple trick allowed InPost to enter the market and avoid legal limits. It was the beginning of a long list of innovations from Brzoska and InPost, and the start of an open battle with the Polish Post. That battle lasted for years, and Rafał Brzoska won every single time. There was a moment in InPost's history that almost ended the whole story. The year 2016 brought the company's biggest financial crisis. Integer.il Group, the owner of InPost, reported a net loss of 496.2 million Polish zloty. This loss was 12 times bigger than in the previous year, when the loss was around 41 million zloty. Even though revenue grew from 291 million zloty in 2015 to nearly 503 million zloty in 2016, the costs, especially from the unprofitable letter delivery business, were simply too high. Rafał Brzoska, the founder and CEO, was facing possible bankruptcy. The debt was massive: 65 million zloty in bonds, 26.3 million zloty in loans, plus a 27 million euro put option that could be triggered by PZU and Templeton investment funds. Brzoska said that lawyers put a ready-to-sign bankruptcy document on his desk 10 times. But he didn't give up. To keep the company alive, he used his house as collateral, took private loans, and even sold company machines worth 500,000 zloty for just 20,000 zloty. Employees agreed to get their salaries in installments. At that time, the company was fighting day by day just to survive. The turning point came in 2017. Brzoska, together with Advent International, made an offer to buy all shares of InPost and Integer.il. At first, they offered 41.10 zloty for Integer.il and 9.50 zloty for InPost, but minority investors said the offer was too low. After protests and negotiations, the offer was raised to 49 and 11 zloty, respectively. The deal was a success. Brzoska and Advent bought over 92% of shares. This allowed them to delist both companies from the stock exchange and fully recapitalize the group. Thanks to Advent, the company received 60 million euros in new capital and refinancing of over 170 million zloty in debt. The next big decision was to fully exit the letter delivery business and focus only on parcel lockers and e-commerce. It turned out to be a perfect move. The company transformed completely, opening the door to future success, including a spectacular stock market debut in Amsterdam in 2021. For Rafał Brzoska, it was a moment of true testing. But it also showed something important. Being an entrepreneur is not just about vision. It's about making hard decisions and staying loyal to your team even when everything seems lost. Another major milestone for InPost was its stock market debut in Amsterdam. On January 27, 2021, InPost went public on the Euronext Amsterdam exchange. With a share price of 16 euros, it sold 175 million shares, which represented 35% of the company. The total value of the IPO was around 2.8 billion euros. When the market opened, the share price jumped by 30%, reaching 21 euros, and the company's market value went over 9.5 billion euros. It was a moment that made headlines across Europe. But this IPO was more than just a standard public listing. It was the biggest IPO in Central and Eastern Europe, and also the largest tech IPO in all of Europe in 2021. From that moment, InPost became a global player, not only in parcel delivery, but also in capital markets. Big financial institutions like BlackRock and GIC quickly noticed the company's strong potential. They saw the value of a business built on automation, parcel lockers, and the fast-growing e-commerce market. For Rafał Brzoska, this debut was more than just financial success. As he said, it was a key milestone that confirmed his vision of making InPost a European leader in out-of-home delivery. Thanks to the new capital, InPost accelerated its expansion. It acquired the French company Mondial Relay and the UK-based Menzies distribution. The Amsterdam IPO also changed how people saw Rafał Brzoska himself. He was no longer just a bold innovator. He became a symbol of Polish success in global finance. And InPost, it grew from a local underdog to a top player in European e-commerce.
So, how does Brzoska's company, listed on the stock exchange in Amsterdam, connect to the Polish market? When we talk about the impact of an entrepreneur, we should look beyond just numbers and profits. In the case of Rafał Brzoska, his impact is both economic and social. Under his leadership, InPost has become one of the largest private employers in the logistics sector in Poland. The company now employs over 11,000 people. And it's not just couriers and technicians. InPost also hires software developers, data analysts, logistics engineers, and ESG specialists. The company is growing fast, not only in Poland, but also across Europe, creating jobs in France, the UK, Italy, and Spain. But that's not all. InPost works with thousands of local businesses, shops, and technology partners. Thanks to its wide PUDO network, pickup and drop-off points, InPost supports local entrepreneurs who benefit from more customer traffic and higher sales. Brzoska built a system that doesn't work outside of the community, it works with the community. There's also his social involvement. For several years, Rafał Brzoska has been active in improving conditions for entrepreneurship in Poland. As chairman of the Polish Council for Entrepreneurship, he represents business in talks with the government. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk invited Brzoska to lead a team of experts working on a national deregulation initiative. Thanks to Brzoska's leadership, the team prepared over 500 deregulation recommendations for Poland. More than 100 of them have already become draft laws. These proposals focus on entrepreneurs' rights, simpler taxes, and faster court processes for businesses. Some of these changes may also be presented in the European Parliament to help make the EU a more competitive place for industry and business. What was the driving force behind the success of Brzoska and InPost? It wasn't just the number of machines. The real success of InPost lies in the way it thinks about logistics as a service that is easy to use, convenient, and fully adapted to the lifestyle of the modern customer. It's also about strategy, combining technology innovation with bold decisions and risk-taking. In the logistics industry, Rafał Brzoska is truly unique. While many companies stayed with traditional home delivery, he created a new category, parcel lockers, or paczkomaty. It wasn't just evolution, it was revolution. He built a company that not only competes with global giants, but also sets the standard in many areas, especially in out-of-home delivery, where others are now trying to catch up. Today, InPost is not only the largest private logistics company in Poland, but also a European leader in out-of-home delivery. Rafał Brzoska shows us that entrepreneurship is not only about making money, it's about creating value. It's about building solutions that make daily life easier. It's about responsibility for the team, for the customers, and for the community. In times when we hear so much about change, crisis, and challenges, his story proves that even in the most competitive industries, you can succeed if you have vision, courage, and the will to take risks. And that's exactly why we share stories like this, because their success is not only their own, it's also part of our shared progress. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode, where we'll introduce more people who didn't just succeed, they are changing the world around them.